nonfiction books, and I plan on reading the rest of his nonfiction books as well. That's pretty much the long and short of, well, really it's just the short of, how this came to be and everything else. But before I get any farther, I want to kind of explain, like, has about, the pyramids and everything else, there was a story to be had there. So it definitely had me intrigued, but I never felt like I really retained a lot of the information from that. It was a lot of, fast moving pictures and sound effects and noises and stuff, but yeah, I got into that. I didn't necessarily, I've watched that several times throughout being interested in alternative history type stuff. But after I got out of, I finished that Tartaria book and I was doing, alternative history, I did run into Archaix, Mr. Jason Shears, and I didn't necessarily do like a deep dive into all of his information and his playlist, or I didn't get any of his books. I just dabbled in it. I would watch a video of his, to say, if you are watching his videos, and you're not really a reader, don't be discouraged, because a lot of his books are not that big, and by a lot I mean like a couple. I don't want to say all of them. A lot of his, another chunk of his books are some of the bigger books that I've read at like 400 pages and whatnot. But anywho, don't be discouraged. He has a couple books that are, definitely a little smaller in, number of pages, but the data in there, I mean, I'm sure certain people could write, several books over just, a single chapter of his in a book that's only got 200 pages. So, it's, the information in the book is definitely data packed. It's full of information. It's full of data. So if you're not in tune with the YouTube videos, and this is the first year of being introduced to the information, it's still going to be a long read, even though it's a 200-page book. And you're going to have to, I mean, sure, you can just, skim through it and read, as fast as your mind can process, but I definitely feel like this type of stuff, this type of literature and alternative history, you kind of have to sit back, think about, try to tie yourself into that perspective and way of thinking, and just kind of, I like to put myself in the society or the people's shoes that I'm reading about, even if I can't necessarily, feel exactly what they're feeling or know what they're going through to the same degree. There's been times in my life where I've known chaos, and I've felt danger, and I've felt certain things, but it might not be to the level or degree, but that's kind of what you have to do with these types of books. You kind of have to sit back and think about what it really means and the deeper meaning of things, and just make sure you're processing it, because it'd be easy to, scroll through it and not pick up anything. There's a lot of numbers and data and information, but if you are watching the YouTube videos, I think some of those smaller books would be great to get into for reading, because the information you've already processed. A lot of the data that he's talking about in the books is what he's going over in his YouTube videos. So it's really, don't be discouraged. There's definitely, started his Worlds in Collision, which is all about, space and space science and things of that nature. And that was a good read. And then his what was the other one? Ages in Chaos, that series. I've started that. And that was pretty much, he was stating that the Exodus was at different times than what, other people, than what it's traditionally considered. He's got it dated differently, and he's got it tied into the same time as, these pharaohs, and during this time, I can't necessarily remember all the details right offhand, right this second, but I wouldn't mind going into, that's what I plan on doing, this whole YouTube channel. I'm going to be chasing source materials, kind of doing a summary or review type situation, kind of give my, give my perspective on the book, kind of give what kind of information and data you're going to find in there, and kind of that whole spiel. But yeah, I've read Immanuel Velikovsky, Ages in Chaos, good stuff. Talks about the Exodus and the catastrophes at the time, and the whole deal with that, the plagues and all that, and migrations of people, and skirmishes and transfers of power and kings and queens even. I'm pretty sure he talks about a queen, a famous queen, if I remember correctly. But yeah, that's it. I'm gonna finish all his books. I'm pretty sure. Well, not all of his books. Well, possibly. I definitely recommend Immanuel Velikovsky. He's got some good books. I'm definitely finishing his Ages in Chaos and his Worlds in Collision. Definitely good reads. Another one that I've read that I definitely would recommend is Hans Bellamy. Built Before the Flood, the Tiwanaku ruins, something along those lines. Great read, really interesting. Also, kind of, this is one of, Jason's source materials. All of those are kind of Jason's source materials. I'm not saying he owns them, but he's the one who kind of put me on them, so I'm just kind of giving credit where it's due. So that's what that's about. But he's put me on all these great books, and I'm recommending them to you. But besides that, the direction I plan on going with the channel, I'm going to be giving reviews and summaries of the books. And the first book that I want to do is the H.S. Bellamy book that, Built Before the Flood. It's definitely an interesting one. It's got catastrophes and the shiftings of lands, the movings of water, floods, all that type of stuff. Astronomy type stuff, I don't know, maybe astronomy, that's the right word, luminaries. It talks about the moon and the effects that it's had on us, and just, that's a book that I plan on going over, and it's Hans Bellamy. I've only read one of his books, but all his other books are kind of hard to come by. People want hundreds of dollars for them, if not thousands. Kind of silly to me, but I can see where they're coming from. The information that he has is great separate them because, I can see the whole book being about Archaix theories. And, yeah, that's pretty much the rundown of the whole channel. That's our plan for the whole YouTube channel. Chasing the source materials. That's what we're doing. We're chasing them source materials. And, that's pretty much it. I think I've gone over everything that kind of would want to. Just trying to think here if there's anything else that I'm missing. I don't think so. That's the long and short of it. I just want to wish peace, love, positive energy to everyone. And yeah, I'll catch you on the next one. Peace out. Oh, this is something that everyone says. Subscribe and like the video. If you find any of this interesting or anything else, just hit the subscribe button so you can find me later on. Sometimes I'll subscribe to someone and it's just because I don't want to lose them. Because there's a lot of times I'll go back and I'll be like, oh man, what did, I'm sure it happened to me the first few times that I watched Archaix. I was like, oh man, what was that guy's name again? And then I remembered his channel and everything else. But yeah, if you find this interesting, subscribe, like the video. I don't really understand YouTube channel and all that, and analytics and stuff like that, but I guess if you like the video, it's more cool or something. But I don't know, if you don't want to like the video, that's alright too. If you just want to watch the video, I appreciate that as well, because I think that's like views and stuff. So yeah, that's my rundown of chasing the source materials. You guys have a good rest of